Okay, here I am making a basic sourdough loaf for tomorrow's gathering. So we're doing a come to the table event tomorrow where I'm going to show people how to do exactly what I'm doing right now in person so they can ask questions and come to the table with anything that either they have questions about or I have questions about. It's just a great place to come together, community and connection. And so what I have here is a scale. And it measures in grams, so kitchen scale. And then I have a bowl. This one's a ceramic bowl. I've used glass bowls. I've used stainless steel bowls. Doesn't matter. And I just turn it on with the bowl on there, so it's 0 grams with the bowl. So, and then I have my sourdough starter. So if you don't know how to do a starter or you have lots of questions, bring them to the table. I can answer them tomorrow or anytime, really. But there's also tons of resources out there. I just find that because there is so much information, it's nice to have somebody who does it and can tell you how they just walk you through it and answer questions. Because I've already walked through all the different ways of things and been confused and unconfused and all the things. So it helps to have somebody you can talk to and they can share what works for them. Of course, there's a million different ways to make things and do things, but this is what works for me and this is how I make my loaf. So I just took it out of the fridge. I'll show you. It's very bubbly in there. I don't know if you can see all those bubbles. There's a lot of activity going on in here. And if you can see when I turn it, kind of has it's very slow, but anyways, there's a lot of activity in there, which just makes it an active sourdough starter. Again, there's a million ways that people tell you to test it to make sure it's good, this and that. This is what I do. I pull it out of my fridge. It's good. It's rising. Because it's coming out of the fridge, though, it's going to be a little bit more on the colder side. And I do try to get my dough to this high 70s, 78 temperature. So my water is a little bit on the higher end. I still don't go over 100 degrees, but it is around, what was it? It was 89 degrees. So that will kind of offset the fact that this is coming out of the refrigerator, which means it's a little bit colder. So here's what we do. Okay, so throw my scale on because it turned off, and I have flour. I have organic, unbleached flour, and then I have water. And you want to just make sure that it's filtered water or unchlorinated water. I just leave mine in this kettle, and it sits on out there. So within 24 hours, all the chlorination evaporates. So okay, let's see. We're gonna do 350 grams of water. Should be 350. Okay, it's 352, totally fine. So 350 grams of water. I'm gonna clear it out. I want 50 grams of starter. This is for one basic loaf. So 50 grams of water. Oh, and it floats so nicely, which is usually a good testing sign there. So see, I don't even need to do the float tests. The theory is correct. Leanne knows when it's active. No, yeah, just all those bubbles and activity that you see going on shows that it's active. So I'm still doing 50 grams. I'm at 42. 49. One more little gram. Okay, there we go. 51 grams, good enough. Now I'm going to take I like to use my dough stir thing. A dough whisk, that's what it's called. I like to use my dough whisker in the state, so I'm just gonna stir it up. Kind of make it a milky look. There you have it. Doesn't have to be precise, it just helps to do that before the flour goes in. I've done it plenty of times without the flour in there yet, and it still turns out great. So move the starter aside. I'm going to add 500 grams of flour. So here we go. It's zeroed out. Make sure it's always zeroed out, otherwise you will have the wrong amount of ingredients, which I have done before. So we're going to do 500. I have no idea how much storage I have on my phone. So, okay, 500. We're at 473. Oop, 503. Perfect. I feel like I've been a little bit over and everything, so we're good. And then we're going to do some salt. You can do the salt now, or you can do it after you mix it. I've done it both ways. I'm not really that sure about the difference in it. I think the theory is that it takes longer to ferment if you do the salt first. So I'm just going to do the salt in a minute just to show you that way. So here I have all those ingredients, and I'm going to use my dough whisk as much as possible because it's really wet. The water and the flour are kind of separated. And so this first step is what combines and brings the flour and water together so that they're working together. You want to let it rest so that they can marry each other basically, right? They can get along. They can learn to get along together in this bowl. Whereas right when you put it together, it doesn't do that. It doesn't combine together very well. So anyways, so this is what the whole process is. It's just giving it time for these three ingredients to come together and basically link together. So, and typically I would get both my hands in here at this point and just kind of finish the mixing process. But I cut my little finger yesterday. So I'm going to try I'm going to do everything with the dough whisk, and then it'll be one-handed after that if I need to. But I think it's coming together really good with just this dough whisk. I think it's mostly when I do multiple loaves that it's really hard to do with just the dough whisk. So the dough whisk is nice because it allows you to go through the flour and water nicely. So, and then it comes off of here pretty good too. Okay, so you just take your hands, clean hands, of course, and then a little bit is probably left on the dough whisk. That's it. And then I'm gonna let this sit for about 30 minutes before I add in the salt. And so I'm gonna show you this consistency. But it's like it's just a wet dough, a wet, what word would I use for this? Like fluffy, not sticky dough, like a wet sticky dough. So here we go. It's very tacky. When you touch it, a little bit does stick to the hands. So it's a very tacky state right now. It is thick, it's not very runny. See how it's pulling away very slow. And then all the flours are combined. See a little bit of flour along the outside, but all the flour in there is combined. There's no, there's no flour sitting there. It's all combined with the water. Okay, so like I said, I'm gonna put some wrap on top of this and let it sit for 30 minutes. And then I'll add the salt. So I'll be back then. Okay, one more thing I want to add is that I take this, and my kitchen, my house is at, well, it's at 68 right now because I didn't turn it up, but it's at like 68. I don't want this to sit at 68. I want it to sit at more like a 78 degree temperature. And the place where I found that that does really well in my house is in my oven. I'll show you. Oven with the oven light on. So it's obviously on because I have it open right now, but I push the oven light on button, stay on, and that heat from that plus keeping the door shut allows it to stay at the temperature that I want it to be at. And I will check it. So because I'm using like cold starter and then like warmer water, I will check it with my thermometer. I'll just stick it in there, double check that it is around the temperature that I need. Otherwise, I do need to create more of an incubated warming area for it. So those are just a couple of like more like advanced things you can learn in sourdough as you go.